Hey there, Steve here, hope you're doing well. As someone who's obsessed with discovering new chords and experimenting with writing mathy style ideas with them, I've stumbled across some awesome chords I think you'll love using in your own songs. So in this video, first I'll show you how to play them, and then I'll show you a few creative ways you can use these chords to write your own chord progressions. Alright, so what are these chords? We're in standard tuning for this one, and the key is E major, so if you want to change the key, you can simply put a capo on. So you'll go from this kind of sound to this kind of sound. So we have a total of 5 chords. The first chord is this C sharp minor 9 sound. Then an E with an A in the bass. And then for these next 3 chords, I've included the open B and E to get this kind of pseudo open tuning kind of sound. So you've got this F sharp minor 11 sound. Sounds lovely. And then a G sharp minor 7 sound. And lastly, this A major 7 sound. Very pretty, right? Right, so now you know what the chords are and how you can play them. Let's move on to look at a few ways you can get creative with them. One way I like to write progressions is I like to cycle between 2 of the chords in a progression to build up some tension. So in our example here, I could use this C sharp minor 9 chord going to this E with the A in the bass. And now it really feels like it needs to resolve, and what I can do is to release that tension is bring in the other chords in the progression, and I could even bring down the dynamic to really add some contrast too. And that really sounds like a cool introduction to a song, well, to me anyway. But it can sound a bit repetitive, so how do we fix that? Well, one way I like to fix repetitiveness in an idea is to add another chord or change one of the chords in the progression. And in our case, we could probably swap out that last chord, because it really has the potential to have this kind of spicy chord that would grab your ear and stick out in a good way. So we could go, instead of going to this A major 7 at the end of the progression, instead we could throw in this G major 7 sharp 4 chord. And that sounds nice and spicy and would stick out, hopefully, in a good way. By the way, if you're enjoying this style of learning, then this is exactly what I am teaching in my new Creative Chords course. It's to help you build, refine, and expand your emotive chord vocabulary. And to do that, I'll take you on a guided tour of the best, beautiful, emotive, expressive chords, so you know exactly which chords to reach for to craft emotional, expressive progressions. And right now, I'm running a launch special of 20% off with the code CREATIVE20. Just enter it at checkout. Check the link in the description to learn more. Thank you very much. All right, let me show you another way you could use these chords to get creative. So for our next progression, I could write this pleasing fall style progression going from A major, the D to D, G sharp minor 7, F sharp minor. Now we're going to introduce a new chord here, the 1, the tonic of the progression, and it's going to be this E major 7 sound. And we'll use that instead of this E/A chord. While it sounds pretty, it doesn't really sound that mathy, does it? So one way you could make it sound more mathy is to use the major scale to add these kind of wiggly parts between the chords. And you'll hear the kind of thing done all of the time in so many math rock songs. So in this case, we're in the key of E major, so I could use that E major scale. And if you know your major modes, I particularly find this 3-string major modes incredibly useful for this kind of thing. And all I'm going to do is just keep repeating the different modes of that major scale. And I will fit those notes around the chords that I play. like so. And then I could do the same for our second chord. I can find here. I'm just using those notes from that E major scale there, and then go into our next chord. I could write a riff like that, and then and the progression like that. And what you'll end up is with this crude version of a Get Good style riff. And if I was to just play it a bit slowly, just go through the idea. And again, that might sound nice as a little passage phrase in a song. One way we could break up the repetition, let's say, is taking another leaf out of Get Good, the band Get Good. We could add some chromatic ideas, runs into the idea. So we keep the same overall rhythm, but we could change the lead part to be, well, let me just show you, I guess. Like that instead of really catch your ear, right? And then the same goes here. Love that sound. And then resolve it that way. Another thing you could do as well, it sounds a bit straight, so you could mess with the lengths of parts as well. So for example, on this E major chord, instead of letting that ring out, we could just stab it that way and then go straight back into that A. And that would be another way that you could mess with the variation of the idea. All right, so let's move on to look at how you could make this progression sound a bit heavier. So for this next one, I want to give you an option for a more of a gainier sound. And I've borrowed heavily from the outro riff, an angular outro riff, I should say, from the song 21 Letters by the band Delta Sleep. The chords you're going to use for this one, A major. But this time we're going to skip out these open strings and we're just going to play the fretted notes. So A major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, then it's E. And of course you'll want to add a bit more overdrive to your sound for this one. And what you could do is palm mute these lower notes, and then you could use these higher notes here as some kind of stabs, and then you could create this kind of angular rhythm that you'll often hear used by math rock bands. And in my head, I can hear that like the drums would be, accenting these stabs, on the snare, maybe even like doing some tom stuff, and that could be a nice heavier section perhaps, and then you could even open it up by, not palm muting it anymore and then bringing all the open strings in. Alright, so now you know a few ways to get creative with these chords. The next thing is to expand your ideas into full songs. So watch this video next where I'll show you how to take one idea and craft it into a full math rock style song. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.